It's the CBT Nugget series for ITIL Foundations. I'm Chris Ward. Glad that you're joining me today as we take a look at service strategy. In fact, we're going to finish up with a look at the process called business relationship management. I know you're going to be sad to see service strategy go away, but if you notice, we've already talked about our service portfolio management, we've talked about our financial management for IT services, and now we are going to talk about business relationship management, which is going to kind of close us out here on service strategy and then kick us off into service design. But don't forget, we do have those other two management processes that are in there as well, and that is demand management and strategy management for IT, but we don't need to know those for the small waylet room after spending a large amount of money to answer questions on a computer screen. Those are going to be your intermediate level ITIL study. When looking at business relationship management in the service strategy environment, especially in the ITIL service strategy book, we see that they have two purposes that they have for business relationship management, or BRM, as I'm probably going to call it for the rest of the nugget. And that is, number one, to establish and maintain the business relationship between you, the service provider, and the customer. And this is based on you understanding the customer and their business needs. The second one is a little bit more of a long definition here, and I'm not going to read it all to you, but there are a couple of things you want to identify in this. Number one is you need to see what the customer needs are. You need to make sure that you are able to meet these needs, you being the service provider, and we also understand that these needs are going to change. In other words, when you start off and you think of, well, I'm going to provide a service to somebody, and that service is adequate for maybe a month, maybe 2 months, but if your customer is growing, you might need to provide more capacity for that service that you're offering, right? And so you need to understand that and make sure that you have a strong business relationship in order to be on the, as I like to say, the same page of your customer's needs. It's this process that the IT and the business organizations, to try to increase that service provider's understanding and the requirements, that makes it such a great tool in your tool belt as a service provider, I would say, overall, right? And so we have these two things that we have, and we want to maintain a couple of things. The other thing is remember these key phrases: a positive relationship, right? And one of the ways that you do this is, like we say, we need to be able to meet these needs, right? And the way that we meet these needs is we have a good service catalog, so that you can see how we've already talked about the service catalog, and so you're going to see that it kind of rolls back into the fact is my service catalog adequate to meet the needs of my customers, the people that I'm doing business with, right? This process, by the way, is really strongly linked with service level management, SLM, but there are some major differences in this that you need to be aware of. The service level management is going to deal mostly with SLAs, your service level agreements. So remember that. And this is to make sure that you maintain the appropriate level of the service, versus where business relationship is, we need to understand the needs before we even get to that. And ultimately, the goal is going to be customer satisfaction, right? And that's true for both in a SLM, service level management, as well as business relationship management. But the way that you measure the two are slightly different. Customer satisfaction for BRM is going to be based on the improvement in the customer's intention to better use and pay for the service. Or maybe another metric that you would use for BRM is, are your customers recommending your service to another customer? They're so happy with you that they're like, yeah, you got to go. So for our Acme coffee, someone comes in, James Conrad gives them a latte, they love the latte, so they tell all their friends, man, you got to go to this place. That's a good measurement of BRM. Now, SLM, service level management, is going to mean where you have given them a level of service that is agreed upon, which, of course, where is that found? That's found in your SLAs. And so your customer satisfaction is, we've met what we've agreed upon for a level of service for you. When talking about business relationships and all these things that we're putting together, we do need to know there are different types of relationships that you are going to have, or as a service provider. There is, of course, the type 1, which we would say is your internal service provider. So here you have, maybe you got your CIO, your Chief Information Officer, or CTO, your Chief Technology Officer, and then you have your IT guy and director. And so basically, they're talking back and forth about the way that we are going to provide services to the internal customers. Then there is type 2. The type 2 shared service provider is another way that they are described, is basically where you're an internal service provider that's providing shared IT services to more than one business unit. So they're called shared service units or shared service providers. And so the CIO and the IT guys are talking, but then this is more of a director. Okay, we'll change it now. Okay, so this is a director, okay? Director of business. Well, this is guy in charge of making the whatchamacallits. And then you have another guy down here that's a director, so we'll say DRR, and so there is also communication going on, and he's the director of not the whatchamacallits, but the thingamabobs, as we would like to say. And of course I'm using terminology that might not work for all of you, but basically these would be, this guy's in charge of the widgets, creating the widgets, and these are the guys that's creating the things. All right. So those are two different departments, so you are sharing the service. That's a type 2. Now the external is where we get our type 3. So we have our type 3 service provider, and type 3 basically is a service provider that gives you IT services to external customers. So now you've got probably your IT manager, or this can also be a business relations manager, a BRM, not the same as business relationship management, but BRM for a business. I'll put a BURM, so a business relations manager. And what they do is they talk to the clients. And they say, what do you want, clients? And the clients are going to say, well, this is what we're looking at and what we'd like. And by the way, okay, well, we can provide that for you. And then they go, and by the way, we want it for really cheap. And they're like, well, we can't give it to you super cheap, but we can give it to you at this price. And they go, all right, that's worth it. And bada bing, bada boom. There you go. You've got an agreement going on. And so that's the business relationship management from an internal, type 1. Remember, type 2 is a shared service unit or shared service provider. That's still internal, by the way. And then you have type 3, which is external, which is going to be to your external customers. So the person that's going to be handling most of this is going to be your BRM, the business relationship manager, for your BRM, which is the business relationship management. You got to love that. Maybe they should give it a new title. I don't know. Anyway, the process is that we're trying to do is we're trying to, as we would say, maintain that relationship between you and the customer, and making sure that you understand what the customer wants and perhaps more importantly what the customer needs. We need to make sure that we know what the business outcomes are for that customer. I mean, what are they trying to get to? What are they trying to achieve? How do they make their profit? Those are things, obviously, that are important, and we want to make sure that we respond to any changes in the customer environment that's going to obviously change what we're offering, the level of our service, what the demand is for that service, any technology that we're coming in and starting to do. So there's a couple of tools that we can use. First off is the customer portfolio. I'm going to try to say that 13 times fast, right? The customer portfolio basically is a database of information about not only your customers that you have, but also any potential customers that are going to get a service from you, right? This can be things like any commitments to customers that you've already made. This could be any investments that you've put into providing a service to the customer, because sometimes you go up front and you say, well, I think we're going to be having this guy as a customer, or this company as a customer, so maybe we should add this technology or this particular software platform or whatever it is. Well, that's an investment that's already put in, and you need to make sure that you have that down, and that is going to be something that can be used basically if you say, all right, well, we've already got this in place, but now here's a similar customer that needs almost the same thing. Well, the good news is you don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. Just go back to your customer portfolio and do whatever matching you need to do. Then there, of course, is the customer agreement portfolio. Basically, same thing. It's going to be a database of your current, okay, so this is going to be any current contracts, right? So any current contracts that you have with your clients are going to be located in here. And that way, you know, these are the services that we're already delivering. We already have in here, or we're going to have our SLAs, our service level agreements in here. So that way we can maintain our good relationships using SLM. That's where the service level management comes in. And so you can see how SLM even kind of, like I said, very similar, but it also helps out in your BRM. Now, some of the activities, according to the service strategy book in ITIL, are going to be marketing, obviously our company, selling things, and of course eventually delivering the activities and the services. We also want to work with our service portfolio management and make sure that we are properly responding to our customer requirements. That can be coordinating things to their requirements. That can be obviously trying to facilitate the customer advocacy throughout that service life cycle. So if things change, we want to make sure that we have that in place. And so that is basically the way that we can get out there into the world of customers and making sure we're demonstrating the value of our services that we have to everybody else. And that's what BRM is about. Not only about our current customers, but also any potential customers. So now let's take a look at a couple handy dandy exam simulation questions to get you guys ready to think about service strategy. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and have you pause the nugget right here after I stop talking, and you want to read the question carefully, read the 4 possible answers, and tell me which one is the correct answer. So read carefully, pause the nugget right now, and I'll be right back. Okay, good job. You paused real well, and hopefully you got the correct answer. So something important to always look for is to read the question carefully. Which of the following is not considered a part of maintaining the service catalog? So if you see something that is a part of maintaining the service catalog, that obviously isn't the correct answer. So in this case, you can see that we have something that says maintaining accurate information in the catalog. Well, that is something you do to maintain your service catalog. Matching the information in the service catalog with the service portfolio. Yep, that's part of it too. Making sure that the operational services are included in the service catalog. We mentioned that as well. And so that just leaves us with one final answer, which is the correct answer. Making sure the service level agreements are up to date. What does that deal with? That deals with SLM, service level management. And we'll talk about that later on in our Nugget series. All right, same thing is true here. I cheated a little bit and told you not, and I made it real capitalized so you can read it. But same thing, read the question, 4 possible answers, and we'll be right back. Okay, so which of the following is not a primary goal of service strategy? Well, if you think about it, we need to find the ones that are obviously correct answers to a primary goal, so we can get rid of those and then find one that has nothing to do with service strategy or is not a primary goal. Notice I said primary goal. So if you take a look at it, ensuring financial ability to meet the service needs of the customer. Yeah, that is a correct one that we would do for service strategy. We talk about financial management. Specifications for the design of IT services. Yeah, I would say that'd probably be that. And then reviewing what is in the service portfolio for accuracy. Yeah, we would be doing that as part of service strategy, which leaves us with A, designing processes that will meet the business needs. This we're going to talk about next, and that is service design. And so that is not a part of service strategy. So there you go, gang. We finished up service strategy, and we're going to move on to service design. Took a look at business relationship management today. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.